Hello, hello. Welcome back to our Dangerous Dialogues. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to our Dangerous Dialogue. You are most welcome here. I'm Tom, and I'm going to kind of curate you through this evening of debate and frivolry. I don't know where I was going with that. What's the word I'm trying to say? Not chivalry. Certainly not that.
Are you going for like frivolous or? But
what's like a provocative word? Is that what I'm trying to say? Like
provocative.
Maybe that.
What is that?
Okay, cool. Well, two other people who are here, as you've heard their wonderful voices and seen their wonderful faces already, who are much better with words than I am, is the amazing Nea and the equally amazing Zoe, who both join us. They've been here many a time before. So if you have and you're watching, I'm sure you'll know their faces. But really quickly, I'm just going to throw over to them so they can say who they are and what they do and like what their whole shtick is and like all that and all this and all everything. Cool. Nea, who are you?
Oh, hello. I'm Nea. I am from Finland originally, but based in London for the past 5 years, I think. Gosh! Yeah, I'm an actor, singer, writer, and resident vegan.
I love that. Zoe, who are you? Who are you? Who is she? Who is she? Who's that? That's Nikki Graham.
Yeah, that's the one. Hi, I'm Zoe. I do nothing with the theatre world except sometimes I'm drama on the side. I am currently a student, as I'm pretty sure I've said here, and also not currently a vegan.
Lovely. And I think we should just plow on, get into it. So today we're talking about veganism, everything that it is to be a vegan, what it means. I think I'm gonna preface this whole conversation by saying it's gonna be like it'll have its like weighted moments, I'm sure, but I think people have this image of veganism and vegans being like such a scary big like preachy topic, and that is not what we're here to do today, but we kind of want to unpack, I guess, why people think of it like that, because I think that's why it's become a so-called dangerous dialogue. So I guess let's go to our resident vegan of the evening. Why do you think it's so still, I would say, like odd to say, oh, I'm a vegan, and people are like, okay.
That is a funny one because I usuly like to refer to myself as plant-based rather than vegan because of the association with the word vegan. So like even in the vegan community, we know that there is that. I think is because, well, probably because like the most vocal vegans in the world are the ones who are the aggressive ones and the preachy ones. So us who just like live quietly our own lives, you might not know that somebody is a vegan if they're not like really shouting about it that much.
Yeah. Is that where you think that it's been demonized in a way? Is that it's associated with such a like shouty culture?
Yeah, I think so, and I think I don't even like the preachy vegans because they kind of ruin it for everyone. Like if somebody told you in anything, if they told you you can't do that, that makes you a bad person. That doesn't make you want to go like, oh yeah, actually you've got a point. I'm gonna stop. So then, yeah, it's because it's so polarized in a way.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Because you want to be able to have the conversation,
Yeah.
and you want to say this is why I believe this is a good choice, but you don't want it to be like, this is why it's a fucking good choice. Like you don't, you know what I mean?
As soon as you as soon as you start telling someone what to do, they're more likely to be like, well, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I find it's much better to engage in a conversation saying like, oh, this is why I do it. So then if these are things that resonate with you, maybe you want to consider it as well. But if you're like meat is murder, then like that shuts it down.
Yeah, and I mean it's okay to have those beliefs. Like I'm not shitting on that at all. And I can understand why people are so like emotional about it and why it is such a like strongly held belief. But yeah, Zoe,
I can understand why people turn vegan, and I can understand why people want to go down the plant-based route. That is not something that I particularly want to do. And it's like okay, kind of weird to pair the two, but it's like religion. Don't force it down my throat. Like if you want to do it, that is fine for you, that is great for you, but don't tell me I should be doing it at the same time. Like if I don't want to go vegan, I have a vegan meal every so often. I have a vegetarian meal like once a week now because I'm doing HelloFresh, not sponsored.
But sponsorship welcome. But anyway.
Yeah, like I will never say no. If I go around to someone who's cooking dinner for me and they are vegan, I'm never going to be like, you have to make meat for me because I eat meat. I will easily eat a vegan meal. I don't have a problem with that. And vice versa, someone comes around to me, I will make sure not to cook with meat because I'm, that's just me as a person. But for you to sit and tell me I have to do it, I'm going to be like, no, I'm not going to do that just because you're telling me to do that. You make your choices for you, not for me. That's why they're called your choices and not my choices.
Yeah. Because it works both ways. Because then you can go and tell them and be like, well, no, you need to eat this piece of chicken. Like,
yeah.
No, you don't have to. Like,
no, exactly.
It's like if, say, somebody comes over to your place and you're making them vegan food because you know that they don't eat meat, that's you going the extra mile. Obviously, like it's understandable and it's very nice, but still, like, yeah.
So I guess what we're hinting at is my Eurovision party. I tried to make some vegan food for Nea, and I thought corn was vegan, and it just definitively had egg in. So like I couldn't even eat it because I'm allergic to egg. So it was just like such a misfire.
They're very sneaky with those products. Like,
I mean, if you're not going down the plant-based route, you don't really know what's best to do for plant-based because you're not needing to focus on, your dietary requirements in that retrospect. If you like, I wouldn't know where to start. If I'm honest, I'd have to Google it. But I'd try my best, and I would. Even if it turned out like I made a separate vegan meal, I would make sure nothing was cross-contaminated, nothing was cooked on it, and if it had to be, it was washed thoroughly beforehand, etc. Because I believe that's just the right thing to do if someone is a vegan. Like, and I do joke with some of my vegan friends, like, "Ugh, vegans." I don't mean it, but there might be a slight truth behind it because there's just a certain minority that makes it really bad for the rest of them.
And I think Nea's point is so valid about exactly that, Zoe, is that I think the same can be said for any group in anything. Like there is always a minority of a group that bring a bad image to a certain like group of people. And I feel like for some reason vegans have been marred by that brush specifically. Which is why I think it's really nice to have conversations like this and go, well, not everyone's like that. Yeah, cool. Okay, so we've mentioned plant-based like 12 times. I wasn't counting, it's a guess. Anyone who is watching, you can watch it back. You can tell me I'm wrong. I'm more than happy for you to tell me I'm wrong. But I don't really know where that kind of came from as a term, but it's everywhere now. I don't see the word vegan anymore. In like supermarkets, I don't see it mass produced, but definitely in menus I would see it. But plant-based, can someone? I'm looking at you, Nea. Can you educate me? Plant-based and vegan, the same thing?
I mean, that's like because I was kind of guessing that this is where it is going. They are, but I'm like now I'm thinking maybe vegan is more like I feel like plant-based. It's more to do with food, And vegan is the whole thing of like, oh, I won't use leather, and I'm gonna check that my cosmetics are cruelty free and don't have any animal products. Maybe.
That would make sense. That kind of makes sense. Like plant-based is the diet and vegan is all products.
Yeah.
All products in my life.
Because I don't think that it's going to be there on the food packaging, say, because like somebody won't understand the word vegan, because most probably the person who's going to buy that is going to be a vegan or plant-based, however you refer to yourself as. So it's not going to be like someone's going to pick it up and be like, vegan, what does this mean? And maybe plant-based would make more sense because it says what it's based on. So, but yeah.
I have just Googled it, and you're absolutely right, Nea. It's like plant-based would be described as the diet, and like the edible sources of things, whereas vegan and being so is about so much more than that, as you've perfectly described. That's really interesting to me because I feel like this middle ground between both of you, like I could see myself being plant-based as a person, with regard to my Monday through Thursday and Saturday and Sunday, but not Friday, because you take fish and chips away from me and I will cry. So I guess that would make me a pescatarian one day of the week. But I don't know. I can't necessarily describe to you why it's something that's become more appealing to me in the last 2 years. But like 40% of my diet is, I guess, plant-based. I think it's maybe, for me, I think it's because I think of it as a more healthy option. But when I'm at McDonald's eating the McPlant, is it a more healthy option?
Well, it is compared to the burgers.
I mean, I guess
it's the healthy option of McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it is a funny one because it's still quite often like considered like, oh, okay, vegan, okay, so you're so healthy. I vividly remember having this conversation with Sean, who Tom will know, Zoe maybe not, but because he used to take the piss of me being in, hi Sean if you're watching, but like I remember once I baked a cake and I was like, people please eat this because otherwise I'm gonna have to eat it all by myself. And he was like, but it's fine, it's vegan, so it's healthy. I'm like, it still has fat and sugar. So, yeah.
So, you could argue that actually, in the wrong way, it might not actually be a good health alternative if you do it.
You can be vegan and eat crisps and Oreos. So yeah,
I think this is just a personal theory to me. I think the reason why veganism and plant-based is associated with being healthier is because it's a lot harder to find takeaways that cater to it, so you're having less takeaways.
Could be.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was like, could be, but also that's changing a lot. And like, even a few years ago, it was like much harder to go out to eat with friends who are not vegans and be like, well, sorry, that like there needs to be at least one vegan meal for me, so that we can go to the place. But like nowadays, it's so much easier. Like you can pretty much walk into any restaurant and know that there's going to be a couple of vegan options.
I feel like that change is so positive though for so many reasons, because let's be honest, like it's always good to diversify your diet and try new things, and there's only so many times you could go out as a vegan, I guess, and eat a salad or like a mushroom thing. I mean, mushrooms can be used in a million different ways, but you know what I mean, like a stuffed pepper or something, like the generic stuff. And I don't know, it makes it more appealing to me as someone who isn't vegan to actually try something that's vegan, because I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I love that you can do that without, putting meat in. And for me, there's like a weird kick that I feel like I get when I eat something vegan where I'm like, I didn't have that animal. You know what I mean? I'm interested because I feel like you'll both have very different points of view on that specifically. So yeah, pray tell.
Zoe, do you want to start?
I love trying all different foods. I love trying all different foods. Like, serve me up anything, I'll probably at least try it. I'm never going to say no to anything unless it's Brussels sprouts, because that's just a big no. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't do Brussels sprouts or baked beans. So there is a couple of things I can't do. Like any Heinz products, basically, is a no for me. But meal-wise, not tin snack-wise, I'm willing to try anything, but I don't get this feeling of, oh, I'm a great person that I didn't eat that chicken today. I'm just like, oh, I ate a vegetarian meal. Cool, I've tried something different. Or I've eaten a vegan meal. Cool, I've tried something different. But I'm never gonna, it's gonna take a lot for me to say no to meat, although I am really fussy with how my meat's prepared. I can't have any fat on anything, like steaks or bacon. It needs to all be cut off and trimmed. Pork, it needs to be cut up and trimmed. Chicken, like when I get the breasts, my mom always complains about how much of my breast is actually like, not these ones, the chicken ones. Like, I don't wear chicken fillets anymore, but the real chicken ones, like she's always like, there's about half a chicken that you could have put in there, but any bloody bits is a no. Any white bits is a no. I have to cut them all off. So I start off with a chicken breast like this big, and it's probably about like this much by the end. So you would think that maybe I could be like alternate and focus more on vegetarian since I'm so fussy with meats as it is, but I love a meal with meat in it. I love the flavors you can make with it, which I understand you can do with vegetarian meals and vegan meals. But I like a good bit of meat. I like a juicy steak, and I like to soak my chips up in the blood sometimes. Okay, it's just what I'm into.
Yeah,
fair enough. Absolutely.
Yeah, because like my reasons for becoming plant-based have always been more like on the side of the environment. Like, it sounds horrible, but like, I don't care about the animals that much. But it has developed though. Like it hasn't been, I can't remember how long ago it was, but like I tried meat for like just to see like, oh, if I liked it still or whatever. And I couldn't tell if I did not like it because of the texture or whatever, or because of the association that I had, because I've been vegan for so long that, yeah, as I was thinking like, oh, it's an actual animal here. But yeah, but in like other ways, I'm like, I don't, because some people, well, I mean, yeah, usually the shouty vegans, they're like, oh, but like humans shouldn't eat meat or shouldn't eat animals. Well, I'm like, I don't know that that's the case, because like evolution wise that has been, but yeah, it's just the whole meat industry, and that is the problem, not necessarily like eating the animals themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think it's something you just mentioned, Nea, I think it's really important to highlight, because this the reason that we're doing this specific Dangerous Dialogue right now, next Sunday is World Environment Day. We have another Dangerous Dialogue that day about carbon footprint, which I'm very excited to talk about. I feel like nobody talks about their carbon footprint enough, and I want to sit over this week and work out what my carbon footprint is, because I think actually it's something we should all know. But that's not what we're talking about this week. I think the reason we're doing this is because like climate change is real, and that's not a talking point, that's a fact. And the world will change notably in our lifetimes, and has already changed notably in our lifetimes. And I guess for a lot of people like you, Nea, this is one potential way to combat that. Just 2 facts for you. I'm sorry, I love fucking facts. I don't like fucking facts, but I fucking love facts. That was a poor choice of sentence structure. Anyway, 51% of all greenhouse gases and emissions are because of livestock and the byproducts. So that's a lot. That's more than half. Yeah, that's a bewildering thought to me personally, that if we didn't have the industry of meat and the way that we consume animals and whatever way you like, whatever you dress them up to be, that if we didn't eat meat, that actually the climate would be incredibly different. And I don't want to sound like I'm being preachy now, but that's a fact.
Yeah, but at the same time, we're humans and we'd have found a way to fuck it up somehow.
Of course we would.
Just facts of human nature.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no. I don't even know what I was going to say. My point is gone.
All right. I just also think it's very much in our human nature to try and fix things, even when they're not fucking broken. So I don't know. I think a lot of our fucking up comes from trying to fix things sometimes. But I wonder if, I mean, I don't know. I'm not educated enough on this, which is part of why we have these conversations about things we don't know about sometimes. I don't know if it's too late to completely reverse everything that has been done to Earth. But I think it's not too late to make some difference, some impact. So yeah, I don't know. Perhaps being a vegan or plant-based is not the answer for everyone specifically, but I think there is something that everyone can do to.
Yeah, I think there was a thing like if you substituted in like one vegan meal a week, it would make a difference.
Yeah. I think also like the thing with veganism is it's most people kind of say that, oh, you need to go like full on and like stop everything, but it doesn't work for everyone. For some people, like, yeah, going cold turkey, works, but yeah, for some it's like, oh yeah, maybe one meal, and maybe then if you feel like that's working, you can change it into 2 meals, or but yeah,
I feel like a big kind of area to where we are headed right now in this conversation is about like the cost of changing from being meat-based to being vegan. And I think there is, for a lot of people that I've kind of had similar conversations with, people think that being vegan is very expensive, and I can understand why, because like right now in our shops, the most expensive thing really is like fruit and vegetables, because of all the import taxes that come on them now, because we have a lot of livestock in the UK already. So like, Nea, obviously you are the best person to like advise us in this. Is that true?
It is and it isn't. Like, it really depends, again, like what kind of plant-based food you eat. Like, I mostly eat like beans and lentils and pulses and stuff. So you can get a lot of those for quite cheap, and that will last a long time. But then again, if you do eat the meat substitute stuff, that's obviously going to be more expensive. Like, it's sometimes like ridiculously expensive. So again, like, and that just like reminded me, like, sometimes I feel like when people talk about like, oh, you should go vegan, they forget that it's not actually like, it's quite like it's a very, not necessarily like Western, but like it is.
Yeah.
You don't have the opportunity for it in everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we know our privilege for a second. We are like quite a food rich country in a way. And there are, lots of different options for us. I think it's very exciting that there are so many like vegan alternatives available now. But I would say still that they are more expensive than other options, if that makes sense. Like, I would say the plant-based section, cheese specifically, I'm thinking of, like vegan cheese is so expensive.
if you want to have good vegan cheese as well, because that's again, that's one of the things that some people who are like, say, vegetarian, they're like, oh, I can't go vegan because I love my cheese, and vegan cheese.
Yeah, I think that would be my main thing about not going completely vegan. Not even the meat, it's the cheese. It's all the different. I literally just had halloumi for my supper tonight. I had a halloumi meal, a vegetarian meal, and honestly, I can't. The thought of living without cheese makes me really upset.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I also like let's just compare like Aberdeen to London and the kind of vegan things, or I don't know what the word is I'm thinking of. Like it's probably a hell of a lot easier to be a vegan in London than it is in Aberdeen, although Aberdeen is like coming up in the vegan scene. It's not like, especially around the northeast and Aberdeenshire, they have to come into Aberdeen to get like really good vegan options compared to them.
Right.
I know one of my friends has to come in and shop in Aberdeen. She's away out like an hour or two away, just so she can get like decent meals because the whole family is vegan. So it's a little more difficult up this way to be vegan than it is probably like in London.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big supermarkets like Asda and stuff are good, but I guess, you know, Asta's still a shop that you wouldn't find rurally, or Tesco's or whatever. You know, I'm not trying to specifically say one's better than the other, although I'm sure there is one that is better than the other. I always find Sainsbury's actually has really good vegan options, but Sainsbury's is fucking expensive compared to like Asta's. Yeah, so I mean, Zoe, you obviously feed more than one mouth. I'm not saying that you have like a tiny little plant that's like, feed me, but I guess having children is very similar.
Yeah, no, Audrey 2's back in the forest, unfortunately.
Regrowth, replanting, I love that. That's good for your carbon footprint.
Yes, it's also good for my rebirth.
How would you feel about having to completely change the diet of two of you, or not completely, I guess, as we've discussed, you could shift it. I'm talking hypothetically, of course.
Yes, yeah, because it's never going to happen. Yeah, hypothetically, it would be quite difficult. Like I'd have to learn all new recipes and all new ways to cook because I've been cooking with meats and cheeses, etc. for years now. I know how to cook with them. I don't know how to be a good vegan. So that's one difficulty. Also, the cash point of it. I know how to budget with the foods I already use. And yes, okay, I'm doing HelloFresh, but I'm a student, so I get student discount, which is great. And that gives me 4 meals a week. Again, not sponsored.
But again, you can if you want.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it would be a difficult switch. It wouldn't be an impossible one. It would be one I'd have to work on for sure, but don't know if I have the motivation for that. So that's another problem.
That's the point though, motivation. Like I think any big change in your life you have to be motivated to do to actually
you have to want to do it.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do it, it's not going to happen. It's like quitting smoking. If you don't want to, you're not gonna. Which
sort of circles back to like why you choose to be vegan or why you choose to go plant-based. And I feel like, you know, there are so many different reasons ethically or
personally.
Whatever. But sorry?
Or personally.
Or personally, yeah, exactly. I mean, like I had a really good friend at drama school who had been vegan like almost her entire life, but she had an iron deficiency. So was regularly told by a doctor, you just need to go and eat a steak, and would have to, and that was just her thing. Like once a year she'd have a steak and she'd feel better, and she just had to emotionally like make peace with that, which really like I can't even comprehend that for her, but great. But
thinking of a digestive system as well.
Like, oh god, I can't even imagine what it would all like do. She must have been so sick, but also feel better. Like I don't get it. I'm not a doctor, but I just don't feel like, well, go and have a steak, Mrs. Vegan, would be like the right response ever. But Sure, you can give her iron like infusions or like whatever.
Tablet, yeah, but I guess, yeah, absorbs better.
Yeah, but reasons to be vegan, because it's veganism that we're talking about rather than just plant-based, and I think we've kind of focused a lot on diet. I think some of the like things beyond diet is where I think a lot of people's thoughts of preachiness come. Like we've mentioned kind of livestock and animals and your feelings towards that. But I don't know. I feel like there's like levels of veganism, isn't there? And I think plant-based is like the most simple in a way. It's really not simple, but you understand what I'm saying. I mean, Nea.
Yeah, no, it is much simpler because like I'm like when it comes to say like cosmetics or like I was kind of plant-based when I started drama school, and when I had to buy my character shoes, which I never really wore, so I don't know why I had to buy them, I still bought ones that were made with leather, because I was like, okay, it's a durable material, and like they would have killed the animals anyway, so I was like, I guess like let's just use the whole thing. But yeah, so like I wasn't too fussed, and like say with cosmetics it's really hard sometimes to know what everything is on the bottle, so unless it really specifically says it's vegan, there might not be any way of knowing unless you go googling, which then again makes it much harder.
Yeah, I mean that would be like the equivalent of what Zoe's just said about food. Like I wouldn't know where to start with that side of things, like products and the way they're tested and the way they're made, and like the way that you list animal products on things. I don't know. I'm sure there must be certain names for things that imply something.
Yeah, but then like I because my brother is vegan as well, and he's like one level up from me. So he is more like all the like. So he said that even toothpaste can be non-vegan, and I had no idea. I was like, what do you put in there? That's not. So yeah. And how would you know? That's
yeah, and I mean, how do you decide? I guess that's my question. If you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it, how do you decide where that line is?
yeah.
Where do you go, this is the level of vegan I'm gonna be a gold star, I'm gonna be a platinum star, you know?
Yeah.
Are you quoting Will and Grace?
Of course I am.
The only
There's never a not appropriate moment to quote Will and Grace.
Oh, you didn't even mean that.
That just flew out.
That was a Freudian slip.
Yeah.
It really was, wasn't it? But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
For you, Nea, where did you decide? How did you decide where that line was?
I haven't really. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I remember I bought a lipstick and I couldn't tell because I was like, okay, maybe they've used, because I've heard that, you know, sometimes you can have fish scales on a lipstick for some weird reason, or maybe like the coloring is from an animal, because like red, like food coloring red is usually from like a beetle.
It's beetles, yeah. They still use it in lipsticks a lot as well, the beetle red.
Yeah, so it really, I think in that sense, I'm usually kind of like convenience first. So if it is something that I actually need, and then again, like if you gonna go and buy, say, like the specialty toothpaste or whatever, it's again gonna be more expensive.
Yeah.
So I, at least personally, I'm like, okay, the diet is something I do every day. So if that is plant-based, then that's like a bigger contribution to the environment and everything. When like other stuff I might buy like one every month or 2 months or something, so it doesn't feel like as big of an impact in a way. Like, it hasn't been like that much of an active choice that I've sat down and been like, okay, this is what I'll do.
That's really interesting, because for me, I definitely did that. I sat down and was like, how can I be less wasteful was the word I specifically was interested in. And it was interesting kind of listening to Zoe talk about kind of like the way of preparing like chicken, for instance. I definitely had moments with it was chicken as well, where I was like, how do I prepare this without wasting things? Like I felt bad that I'd get to the end of the week and was like, oh, I didn't use that thing. Or like, you know, I guess it's all about meal prep. So I started meal prepping. And then it was like, oh, well, actually, because I'm freezing so many things and like I've prepped so many meals, why don't I like make one that doesn't have meat in? And I was lucky because I lived with like a vegan at the time who was like one of the best cooks I've ever lived with ever. And she would make really good vegan food that honestly I just wouldn't have known. And she was super clever at managing to use like products and flavors and things that just tasted great. But to Zoe's point, I would not have fucking known where to start with that. But it was like an insight to it. So for me, I was like, okay, well, that's a change I can make, because I can buy that, and I know how to use that now. I you know what this vegetable from a country I've never heard of is, you know. But that's expensive, of course it is, because of the imports on that. But yeah,
it's an interesting one as well, like making the change. I can't remember how they, because I was pescatarian for a long time as well. Yeah, fish and chips was a lot to give up for me too. But they do really great vegan fish and chips in many places, different ones. But because usually what people like, I follow a lot of, because I love cooking and baking. Baking was hard for me because like it's really hard to substitute eggs, especially sometimes. So just made me be a bit more creative and trial and error with that. But there's so many like Instagram cooks and people, and they like, oh well, maybe just make the meal you would make with meat, but take the meat away and then just substitute that with something else, because usually your meals will have other stuff too, so it's not just going to be like, oh, that's a steak, that's my meal,
right?
So yeah, that's what usually like chefs or cooks say.
Yeah, I think for me, like talking about substitution, because I'm allergic to egg, and that has forever been a bit of a nightmare's analogy, because so many things have egg in, fucking
including water.
Chewits. You know, like the sweets that you have as a kid? Chewits? Egg. What's that? What's the point in that? I don't want to chew on an egg. No thanks. What did you say, Zoe?
Water.
What? Okay, you know, that's you added me there. There was about a story. It was a whole thing. There was other fluid that had been consumed that made me genuinely not totally present, that made me believe that this guy had put egg in my water. Okay, so that particular water wasn't vegan. There was egg in it anyway. But yeah, for me, when it came to sandwiches specifically, because I'm on the move so much and I have to pick up like a lot of lunches from places, I suddenly had options that weren't just a cheese sandwich, because everyone puts mayonnaise on their sandwiches in all these shops, and that's got egg in. So suddenly there was like 6 vegan options that I could eat. And some of them are banging. Like I can't even count the times that I have told Nea about the chicken Caesar wrap thing. Is it chicken Caesar? No, fucking
no coronation chicken.
No coronation chicken that Sainsbury's started doing, banging. And
I still haven't found it.
Yeah. But it was like, because now we're in a place where, as a kid, being like the vegan option, it was like stuffed with peas and sweet corn instead of being a chicken nugget. Now we have like, well, it looks like a chicken nugget and it tastes like a chicken nugget, but it's not made of chicken. And it's exactly what that kind of chicken is in that wrap. And I'm like sold. Like, I don't, if it's supposedly better for the environment, it tastes the same, it looks the same, and I can actually eat it because it's not got egg in. Like, yes, please. Like, I don't know how I could deny that. Would you eat that, Zoe?
Yeah, and like I said, I'd try anything. I would try. Yeah. So that's why I call myself a trisexual. Try anything once. Yeah. Yeah. I would easily try it. I'm not saying that I'm gonna love it, but I wouldn't turn my nose up at it. You know, I'd be like, yeah, sure. Like, pass me a slice. Pass me a side. I don't know. What'd you say for sandwiches? Pass me a quarter, a half.
Yeah. What, I don't know what the terminology is. We're gonna have to do a dangerous dialogue on how you cut sandwiches.
True terminology. Yeah. What's it called? Yeah. What is the correct way to cut toast? That's one. And the correct answer is diagonally. It's the correct answer. You want it in triangles. You don't want it. Okay.
Well, but if there's something in the toast, if it's like a bacon or a fakin, butty on toast, no, that's not diagonal. I can't do that diagonally.
Yes.
Diagonally. I think so. It looks nicer as well.
Yeah, it looks posher.
Diagonally is great for sandwiches. It's great for like proper toasty things, but for like a bacon sarnie, no.
Well, you should be putting that in a roll.
Yeah, but rolls not always an option. Rolls are pricey, and I can freeze bread.
You can freeze rolls.
Okay, do you know what? Thanks for joining us, everyone. No, I'm joking.
Now we had two dangerous dialogues in one. Like,
toast. It's gonna toast and how to fucking cut bread. That's you heard it here first. Coming soon. But yeah,
is bread vegan?
Yeah, most of it is. Sometimes it depends, like if they're like the nice ones that they make in the Tesco bakery or whatever, nicer, I should probably say. Sometimes they might have milk powder, usually milk powder, not actual milk, in them. It depends, like what, because I mean, if it's like, I don't know, a buttermilk something, then yeah, because you can make it's. Yeah, like a maltier bread might sometimes have.
That makes sense. The last thing that's on my notes that I like specifically wanted to attack in this conversation was taste, and I feel like we were kind of edging towards that there, and then pulled away towards like how you cut bread. And I feel like Nea might not actually even be the best person to talk about this. Because I guess it's quite a while since you've been able to compare it against something that isn't. But Zoe, I don't know if you've had like a vegan alternative for something recently.
There was one time I accidentally ordered a vegan meal from Wagamama's.
And how did that match up for you?
I mean, it was fine. I think because my taste buds were expecting something else, it wasn't keen. But it was like, so I meant to order the chicken katsu curry and I accidentally ordered the pumpkin katsu. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for it. I wouldn't say it's disgusting. No one should try it. It's just it wasn't to my tastes, which are my personal tastes. But I do think the fact that I was expecting chicken had something to do with that. I love when it comes to salads. I know, like stereotypically assumption vegan. I love when there's lemon through it. So if you give me a salad drenched in lemon, I'm gonna eat it, like no matter what's in it. Yeah, I just the corn. I know they're not vegan, but different tastes. So the corn chicken nuggets, I don't mind. I gave them to Riley, and I was like, you know what? These are actually like I could eat these if someone gave them to me. Again, it wouldn't be my first choice to have. Yeah, I think I'm really enjoying vegetarian options at the moment rather than fully vegan. I'm trying to think if I've had any vegan from my HelloFresh, but I think it's been just vegetarian. Again, not sponsored.
I'm gonna fucking at them in this video.
Yeah, you should.
So Zoe, I'm interested, with all that said, or is that a factor for you when you are deciding what to eat? Where you
taste,
think,
yes.
Yeah,
for sure. And usually it's I want something spicy.
Okay.
For whom isn't it? Like, who decides to eat something is like, I don't want it to be tasty.
You know what?
I don't want to like the taste.
When I finished and it's 11 o'clock, I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's, of course taste is a factor, but like I guess the difference in taste, that kind of thing. Nea, I feel like you desperately want to comment on everything, so please.
Yeah, it's an interesting, like, I was even like thinking of your Wagamama mishap. I wonder if you, rather than have the pumpkin katsu, if you had the vegatsu, which is like a seitan, more probably like chicken. But I don't know if it's so much. I mean, obviously it is about taste as well, but I think it's more the texture that is
texture is a big thing for me as well. Like, I cannot eat bananas.
Which is probably like the hardest to replicate as well. Like, because you can add the same, like, you wouldn't have a piece of chicken or a steak without any spices. Like, you're always going to season it somehow. I remember, like, when I first started to eat vegetarian and people are like, but does it taste nice? I'm like, but you season your chicken. Like, your chicken on its own doesn't really taste of anything, does it? So I always found that funny. But yeah, I think it's more probably to do with the texture than it is with the taste.
That's fair.
Both are very big players in what people choose to eat. Absolutely. I think that's like the only players in what people choose to eat. Like, yes, okay, looking at it helps as well. Like, if it looks like it's going to taste like shit, it does have an effect on how you perceive it taste-wise. And if it doesn't smell great, that also has an effect. But yeah, taste and texture are like the main things that you use when it comes to food. Like I said, bananas are an absolute no-go for me. The taste is disgusting and the texture is like vomit to me. It's just, sorry, I'm joking thinking about this. I don't like them. Okay, can someone else talk?
Yeah.
This and soggy bread just gets me.
So this is, I mean, that was hilarious. Also, please don't be sick. I hope you're okay in all seriousness. You mentioned spicy food, Zoe, and you said that you want things to be like spicy and have that kind of flavor to them. There's a restaurant that is really close to me, and actually, Nea, I can't believe I've never taken you here before. So Zoe, when you come to visit, the three of us will go to this restaurant. It's this lovely, and I am plugging them because they're fantastic. There's this really, really lovely place in Wood Green, which is kind of close to where I live, in North London. And it changes its name so often, but it's called the Carmel at the moment. It's attached to this really lovely little theatre as well. That do amazing work with kind of the local community there. But it's entirely vegan and it's a curry place. So they do like exclusively like curries, and they are spicy and they are like proper good curries. But they're all vegan.
I love a cauliflower curry.
Ooh. I feel like cauliflowers are desperately wanting to be broccoli.
Or are broccolis wanting to be cauliflowers? Which one came first? We'll never know. I think that might have been a vegan meal that I had, but I don't know. There was it's HelloFresh again. Hi. It was roasted cauliflower nuggets and a spicy bean stew. So it was like the cannellini beans. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. The white ones. It was them. And honestly, it's up there in my top three, maybe, of HelloFresh recipes I've had. I bet you are. But I never thought to put breadcrumbs on cauliflower.
Yeah.
and make them into nuggets. But oh my God, it was great. It was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that's quite unusual, like cauliflower wings.
Mhm. Well, I knew that was, but because I've never tried them, I was like, but now I would have them always.
Okay, so there's an issue, everyone. I am really salivating. Like, I'm not even joking. There is.
I'm glad
I've got to swallow. There's a lot going on in my mouth at the moment. Wow. I am seriously hungry because I've just realized we've been talking about food for a whole hour.
We didn't even get to the part where I only wear pleather skirts.
Consciously, or because you just love that pleather?
Probably a bit of both. Like, I wouldn't buy a leather skirt now. I'm not saying I've never owned anything leather. I'm not saying I've never owned. Well, I didn't own anything that was real fur. But you know, my mom was born before the times that people gave a shit about that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I have worn a real, well, what she told me was a real fur jacket. But it would be never something I would go and spend my money on. And I'm not conscious about the products I buy. A lot of the time, there are certain makeup brands that I won't use, and beauty brands and skincare brands that I won't use, and that is a conscious decision.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's interesting you bring up furs because I.
Don't come after me, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Myself and my parents run a sort of costume and other theatre arts things hire company, and we definitely have some furs. But I mention it because they are, I guess, second or third or fourth hand. They already exist. That I don't think any good will come from destroying them. And we're not actively like seeking out to buy that kind of thing. And I should mention, you know, out of the 10,000 costumes in that store, I think, you know, about maybe 3 are like actually kind of made of animal products that I'm aware of, that is. Yeah, but I think it's interesting, the thing on like furs and things, because Nea, you already mentioned about your shoes, for instance, that, well, they're durable and it was already made from an animal that is dead. So yeah, I don't know, how do people feel about all of that? Like, it, you know, it already exists.
I mean, I did read somewhere though that like the leather industry is kind of separate from the meat industry though, so which is again
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So like when people say that, anyway, it's a whole other thing. But yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting to me. I need to do some research on that, because I just sort of always assumed that they were
like a byproduct rather than a separate. But yeah, that's what I thought as well. But then I remember seeing this, I think it was on Twitter, when people were trying to like speak against the leather industry.
Yeah. Is it Lush that is like really super conscious of everything? And I know Zoe and I were in Lush the other week. This makes me sound like I'm really fucking well traveled. Everyone that's on, I'm like, oh, I saw you recently, but I did see you recently.
Yeah, you did for once. Because the last time he came up, he told me he was coming to see me, and then jumped on a train and left me and didn't come and see me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Zoe, you broke up.
I knew we did break up because of that. That's true.
Okay, no, that's not true. But there was a storm and trains, but yes, okay, there we go. Hi.
Exactly.
Watermelon sugar.
Yeah, it's lovely. I've been picking at my lips today, so this is gonna hurt.
But this is like a product that is being consciously made, right? That's what we're saying.
Everything is in Lush, I think, is cruelty free.
Oh yeah, there you go. It's got rabbits on it.
And the beauty thing.
This pot was made by this person, so it's kind of a big factory thing.
Right. So
also it's edible.
Oh, love that. Does it taste like Harry Styles?
No, it tastes like watermelon sugar.
Okay. Oh God, this is turning slightly into a post-watershed thing, and it's still before 9 o'clock, kids. But
suitable for vegans, it also says. At the bottom line here, you probably can't read that because of my.
But we believe you.
Is that a thing on products now that it says things like suitable for vegans?
Yeah.
That's great.
But then sometimes it will say suitable for vegetarians, like mostly on food stuff. And it might still be suitable for vegans as well.
Huh.
But you wouldn't know if you're not like a seasoned vegan who knows what to look for. So, yeah, confusing, isn't it?
Just based on something you've said, Nea, I need to ask, how do you season a vegan? And on that note, cool. Thank you so much for joining us.
With vegan-friendly products.
Yes.
That's true, with vegan-friendly products. Lots of oregano.
Oregano.
That's
another one.
That's one.
I like Herbie fully loaded. So.
Okay, how do I mute you?
That's what happens when I'm depressed.
Is that a heart? I don't know.
I do it this way.
Oh, and in Korea, yeah. Anyway, we could rabbit on about all sorts of things. I think the three of us probably are going to. But that's a really lovely heart. Thank you, Zoe. Just to finish off with, because I feel like this is the way we've been finishing recently, and it's kind of.
Yeah, you know all about finishing, don't you?
Well, I hope so. But the query is, what are you taking away from this conversation today? What kind of do you think it's helped you with? Helped is the wrong word, but what do you think it's kind of made you think about? Yeah, I guess I'm trying to encourage other people to have these conversations with dangerous dialogues. So, what did you take away from this dialogue? Nea?
I think I'll still continue being a vegan. But I actually because I've been thinking of being more conscious about my cosmetics choices and all of those, so I might make that into more of a decisive action of actually looking into that more as well.
I like that. Smashing. Zoe?
I think everyone should try a vegan meal every once in a while for sure. But also, please don't breach your veganism on me, because I'm not going to take that well. In fact, the last time someone did, they tried to offer my son a sticker that says, "No, thank you, we like to eat meat," and walked away. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with trying it. Just both sides, don't be an asshole about it. Both sides. All sides.
Yeah, and if you are interested about veganism and you know someone is vegan, maybe just ask them about it.
Yeah, for sure.
For
me, what I would take away from this conversation is, I guess there are just a million ways to be vegan or plant-based or whatever, and I think we've discussed so many options there. There is no right or wrong way. Different things that we do make a different impact on the world and on ourselves, and you got to decide what's right for you ultimately. And I think it's been interesting, because I think we have three kind of different standpoints almost, but most importantly, I think that we've had a juicy conversation between the three of us that was civil, because I feel like so many people have images of this kind of conversation being so aggressive.
Yes. Vegans and plant-based and non-vegans can be friends. We can be friends.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
If you
as Nea says,
my baby, it don't matter if you're vegan or not.
Oh wow!
Less than 90 seconds, it's fine. And I
was about to say I'm not paying copyright on it. So thank you very much for chatting to us today. If you want to check out HelloFresh, they're no, I'm joking. Yeah, seriously.
You should. You should
Thank
check out
you.
Holograph.
Next week is World Environment Day. We're going to do lots of stuff on Car Crash over the next kind of week to look out for. One such thing is a really, really, really fantastic piece that Nea has written, who I got to work with last week, 2 weeks ago. I can't remember when we filmed it.
This week.
Oh my God, it was this week.
Yeah, I know. When I posted about it, I was like, was it this week or has it been longer? Yeah, it was this Monday.
I need a holiday. I don't know what's going on anymore, but yeah, we're really excited for people to see that. Honestly, I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's really, really beautiful. And I don't want to say any more to ruin it, but it's really wonderful, and you'll get to see it later this week. And in a week's time, Zoe and I are back to chat about carbon footprint, which is another very different topic. Originally, that dangerous dialogue was called recycling. So, we have learned, because Joey and I laughed at each other for like an hour about the idea of doing a dangerous dialogue on recycling. So we had to change his name. But yes.
Not that you shouldn't recycle because it's a joke or anything, but it's yeah.
No, you absolutely should, and I think that's why we laughed, because that's all so accepted now.
Yeah.
But yeah, over this week, just be conscious. I guess that's the thing we're trying to say. Think about kind of what you do, how you do, and how to be the best you, I guess, for the place that we are. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you soon. Bye.